They noted their plans were disrupted because they entered the dungeon late, almost at evening. Kaido raged about the bugs wasting his time, cursing repeatedly as they walked through the first floor. He kicked at the air, screaming "damn it" over and over like a toddler denied a toy. He recalled the humiliation of being told not to jump in line, furious that mere bugs spoke to him like that. He monologued that he was a genius, the youngest recruit, and one of the strongest white knights in the Elf Kingdom. He revealed he inherited the blood of the legendary hero, the Master, making him Kaido-sama. Because clearly, having famous ancestors justifies being a jerk. His companion, Yanaku, tried to calm him, but Kaido decided to ignore the trash orcs on the first floor to advance faster. Kaido panicked, worrying he had already reached his growth limit at level 1500. A status screen showed Kaito at level 1500 and Yanaku at level 200. Yanaku reassured him that level 1500 was already far beyond an elf's average limit. Kaito screamed that he wouldn't be satisfied with just that, citing his legendary lineage. He vowed to level up so he could crush those who made a fool of him and receive the goddess's blessing. Yanaku, a dark elf, agreed to help so he could continue his own research after being chased out of his village. Kaido dismissed the research talk, ordering him to just help reach the third floor. Internally, Kaido thought, "Why am I working with this disgusting dark elf?" Yanaku, unaware of the hate, convinced himself this was a trial bestowed by the goddess. Kaito promised himself that once he became a hero, he would kill all the bastards back home and the bugs in the dungeon. Elsewhere, Light's party stood amidst defeated monsters in the third-floor swamp. They decided to collect materials from the trolls and golems, even if they were low-level trash to them. Nemomu confirmed they had enough proof of passage items for the guild, noting Light's gacha provided plenty of cards anyway. Nemomu insisted they return to the surface immediately so she could wash Light's body. Gold declared that no matter how dirty he got, his golden armor would continue to shine. Nemomu ignored him completely. They noted that with Light's power, exploring the dungeon took almost no time as they returned to the first floor playing field. Nemomu used clairvoyance to find the exit, but admitted she enjoyed the scenery because she was with her lord. Light marveled that the sunset underground was beautiful, despite being artificial. Nemomu declared she loved it solely because it was a dungeon controlled by Kuro-sama. Nearby, the young party from the morning was fighting goblins, shouting "Don't get cocky." Light recognized them, noting it was a low-level battle not worth his time. He analyzed their formation, 3 vanguard fighters and a girl mage support in the back. He critiqued that they were too focused on what was in front of them. The kids cheered, moving to loot the magic stones. Suddenly, the girl screamed as something attacked from the grass. It was a bush snake. Light stepped in implied, lecturing them to pay attention to their rear. He explained that while not fatal, the paralysis poison would have crumbled their formation. The leader thanked Kuro-sama, but Light cut him off, warning that more enemies were inbound. A pack of great bush wolves burst from the trees. The young party panicked, realizing they couldn't deal with them, and shouted to retreat. Light realized the wolves weren't attacking, they were running away from something else. Irio froze, sensing a massive presence approaching. No freaking way is that. A Forsyth mantis appeared, a rare monster that supposedly only shows up once every 30 years. Irio panicked, screaming that it was a level 1500 monster that should have been subjugated 10 years ago, and they needed to report it. He ordered a retreat, telling Mia to distract the monster with everything she had while the rest escaped. The mantis screeched menacingly. Mia realized her chance wouldn't be fast enough and screamed in terror as the monster approached. Light calmly stepped in, asking if he was free to kill it since they were planning on running away. Irio stared in disbelief, asking if he actually planned to fight it. Light remarked it was a great chance to raise their rank since it was level 500. Irio shouted that even the guild had to go all out to defeat it. Light ignored him, telling Gold and Nemomu to go hunt themselves a mantis. Nemumu complained it wasn't fair, but Gold stepped forward to be its opponent, eager to show the terror of a Forsyth mantis to the newbies. Gold blocked the mantis's attack effortlessly. Nemumu offered a weapon, noting the monster had good blades. Light decided to test his magic first, releasing a fire arrow. The spell hit the mantis directly. The smoke cleared, Nemumu noted it deflected the spell. Light admitted it wouldn't work easily. Irio explained the mantis had high magic resistance and extremely sharp blades, making it a well-rounded threat. Irio yelled at the frozen Mia to support the knight before he got killed. Mia was too shocked to move, screaming that the boy cast a fire arrow without chanting anything. She couldn't believe someone her age could perform a feat usually reserved for veterans. Gold laughed, telling the kids to just sit back and enjoy the show. He began lecturing them, noting they focused too much on simply defending with the shield and attacking with the sword. He explained a shield isn't just for defense. Gold deflected an attack with a counter, telling them to match the timing. He explained a shield is a weapon that can destroy the enemy's gear, advising them to use their heads to find weaknesses. He told them to create openings and attack with surprise, calling battles a test of intelligence. Light announced it was his turn and cast Fire Arrow again. He asked how it would fare against 30 arrows this time. Mia watched in horror as he controlled all 30 arrows perfectly. Light commanded the arrows to gather and burn, stating they wouldn't disappear until they hit. Mia looked like she had snapped. Light called the mantis naive for thinking one blade could block 30 arrows. Light decided it was time to end it. The mantis, surprisingly smart, decided to run away. Light instantly cast Firewall. Mia screamed, realizing he used a tactic-grade spell without chanting. She realized she was witnessing history, as only a few limited elves could cast that. Light declared it couldn't escape. The mantis tried to fly. Light called for Nemumu. Nemumu intercepted it, telling it to be grateful to die on Kuro-sama's stage. The mantis was sliced to pieces midair. Nemumu scolded Gold for making weird noises, telling him not to get jealous. Light panicked, realizing that since they cut the valuable shell and blades into pieces, they couldn't sell it anymore. Nemumu apologized, admitting she and Gold destroyed the blades. The young party stared in awe, wondering who on earth these people were. Irio and his party were stunned, asking who these people were for killing a Forsyth mantis in a single second. They asked if Light's group were A-rank or famous adventurers. Irio guessed S-rank, but Light corrected him, stating they were currently F-ranks who just registered yesterday. Nemumu complained about the mess the Miss Someone Mia made, asking if they should collect the magic stones yet. Light offered to help collect the goblin stones but decided to clean up first, Mia casting Water Ball. Irio invited the knight to wash his hands and thanked Light for saving their lives. Light was shocked that the young party used precious mana just to create water for hand washing in a dungeon. Because nothing says, I have infinite mana, like using a tactical spell to rinse off some bug juice. Light felt their sincerity as adventurers for using mana just to let them be clean. Mia thanked Light for saving her from the bush snake earlier. She stuttered muksh and bit her tongue in her nervousness. Irio noted she bit her tongue. Mia made a cute howl sound. Irio warned that night was approaching and invited Light's party to their nearby camp to avoid monsters. He insisted they wanted to repay Light for his help earlier. Light accepted. Irio whispered that his sister wanted to ask Light about magic. They gathered around a pot at the campsite, ready to eat. Irio assumed both of Light's parents must be mages for him to be so talented. He concluded that was why Light was so talented. Light humbly denied it. Irio admitted he didn't understand magic, but Mia explained she couldn't even use tactic-grade spells. She insisted it wasn't just a mere difference. Mia explained there are 3 classes: combat, tactic, and strategy. She detailed that tactic grade, like Firewall, usually requires multiple mages to resonate. Strategy grade spells like Meteor or Tsunami require tons of mages, and can affect the world. She explained that being able to use tactic-grade magic is proof of being first class, a wall humans typically cannot climb. She emphasized that Kuro-san did it without chanting, calling it legendary. She declared they were witnessing a legend carved into history, as no human could normally do that. Light laughed it off, saying she was flattering him. Mia thanked him, Nemomu saying she had good eyes to understand Kuro-sama's power. Gold told Nemomu to stop sticking her thin breasts out and eat properly, criticizing her table manners. Nemomu raged, asking who he was calling thin breasts. Gold clarified he was obviously talking to her. Light interrupted, and Irio saying now he knew how amazing Kuro-san was, and that Mia was also truly talented. Mia mentioned the Nine Principality, a joint nation supported by all 9 races. Gold noted that getting a recommendation from their magic school meant she was very good. Irio revealed they gave up on school because their parents died from a plague, and they had no income. He explained they became adventurers to earn money so Mia could enter the school. Mia said she was happy just being with everyone. Irio agreed it was theirs. Mia asked Light not to do anything reckless. Light agreed with a soft Light told Mia she would reach her goal eventually. He insisted it wasn't flattery and that he actually thought she was talented. He claimed he didn't have specialties and couldn't use magic, which is why it was rare for a human. He explained he was a special mage who used cards to bypass chanting to hide his identity. He told Mia she had actual potential, unlike him who relied on items. Irio asked why Light decided to become an adventurer. Light spun a lie that his parents died in a fire, and he received a heavy burn on his face. Nemomu and Gold played along, stating they served him because they were under his parents' care. Light claimed he traveled with the mask to look for a healing potion, though it wasn't his priority. Irio asked permission to ask one more question. He asked if Gold and Nemomu were lovers. Nemomu called it straight-up impossible. Gold retorted that he preferred a mature woman who matched the color gold, not a flat chest. Nemomu raged, screaming, "I am average," while Light apologized for the noise and also said that she belonged to Light. The scene shifted to a darker view of the dungeon. On the 3rd floor, Kaito and Yanaku stood over a defeated troll. Yanaku revealed he didn't steal the national treasure just to team up, but to hunt materials. He stated they were gathering materials to break the limits of races, and their next target was a human for experiments. The scene opened at the city gate, crowded with adventurers even in the morning. People whispered about the party rumored to have defeated the Forsyth Mantis 2 weeks ago. Light, wearing his dark clown mask, walked through the crowd. Irio called out to Kuro-san, excited that they finally stood out enough to be recognized. Irio explained they hadn't met for 2 weeks because the dungeon was huge, so bumping into each other was nearly impossible. Irio pushed Mia forward. Mia shyly said she could finally give him their gift of appreciation. She stammered, handing over a small item. Mia explained it was burn medicine taught to her by her late grandmother. She added that it couldn't make scars disappear but would ease the pain, worrying it wasn't much. Irio revealed Mia had been thinking about a gift to thank him for a long time. Light decided to give something in return. He pulled out an SSR praying bracelet, an item that causes a small miracle when wished upon strongly. He noted its effects were a mystery, but it looked plain enough to be worn normally. Light told her he was happy because she cared about him, not because of the medicine's value. He insisted she take it. The party cheered, noting the bracelet matched her red outfit. Mia beamed, vowing to take care of it for the rest of her life, while Nemomu muttered, "So jealous." Nemomu asked if it was okay to give such a rare item for low-grade medicine. Light replied he wasn't ashamed, as he was happy simply because she cared. Light praised Mia for being a good girl. Light bid them farewell and headed to the 5th floor snowfield to return to the abyss. He cast a teleport. He explained the vast 5th floor was perfect for teleporting without being seen. He arrived at his throne room, welcomed by his servants, including Iri and Ayuoki Nazuna. Light smiled, happy he could now freely travel between the surface and the abyss. Over tea, he reported that the adventurer plan was going smoothly, and he met nice people. He reflected on how happy he was to feel kindness from others again. Iri reported that the preparations for the revenge against Sasha would be ready in 10 days. Light praised her, Iri blushed, saying his words were wasted on her. She declared his wish was her command. Flashback, Light recalled telling Mia he was happy simply because she cared. He recalled insisting she take the bracelet with gratitude. Light introduced Nazuna as the strongest in close-quarter combat and a mood maker. He noted she wasn't good for complicated jobs because she didn't think before acting. Light asked Nazuna to protect the abyss while he was away. She agreed energetically. Nazuna called Iri midget. Iri snapped back, telling her she also had a part in the next plan. Light sipped his tea, wondering how Sasha would look when she fell into despair. Gilbert and Subalan were stuck on the night shift in the Daga's dungeon swamp, counting down the last hour until they could finally switch. Subalan noted how rare it was to see no fog or monsters around the swamp, though Gilbert warned him not to let his guard down. They passed the time gossiping about the Dark Clown Mask Party, mentioning a teenager, a golden knight, and a fairy princess. Gilbert was skeptical, finding it impossible that the party reached the 5th floor within days. Subalan insisted it was true, sharing rumors that they defeated a Forsyth mantis with chantless magic. Gilbert laughed off the idea of a human mage girl, calling it a fairy tale. However, Subalan argued that the rumors of subjugating the mantis didn't sound baseless anymore. Subalan wondered if the hero was a reincarnation of a legend. Gilbert stopped joking, hoping this hero could finally save their race from the cruel discrimination they faced. The mood lightened as they admired the clear starry sky, a rare sight in the swamp. Gilbert decided to take a bathroom break, complaining about the cold. Subalan told him to shut up and make sure to dig a hole so he didn't have to smell it. Gilbert walked off into the woods, leaving Subalan alone by the fire. Gilbert ran into an arrogant elf and was instantly beheaded simply because a mere bug made him wait. Apparently, taking a bathroom break is a capital offense in this dungeon. The elf stood over the body, telling himself he needed to calm down. Back at the camp, Subalan realized something was wrong. There were no battle sounds, yet Gilbert wasn't back. The elf emerged, angry that an inferior dared to ignore him while he was speaking. Subalan froze, realizing he couldn't win against an elf mage alone. He decided to run and report the crime to the guild, even if they didn't treat humans well. The elf mocked him for lacking emotion while he stepped on Gilbert's severed head. Subalan shouted that he would survive and tell the guild everything. The elf couldn't believe Subalan was running away, calling him spineless. Subalan deployed a smokescreen to blind the mage, confident that blocking his vision would secure his escape. Knowing the map by heart, Subalan ran through the smoke, vowing to avenge his friend. Suddenly, a massive impact struck him, shattering the ground. Subalan was crushed. In his final moments, he realized with horror that the attack felt physical, not magical. Kaito laughed, calling their struggle futile against his weak attributes. A man Yanarku arrived, annoyed that the elf had killed the adventurers instead of capturing them as guinea pigs. He shrugged it off, claiming that experiments are based on failures anyway. The elf admitted that their futile struggles just made him want to kill them more. He adjusted his monocle, saying he understood the feeling of letting bugs crawl all over you. He decided he would have to teach them a lesson with experiments later, so he allowed the elf to kill them for now. They viewed the adventurers as trash who should feel honored to become lab rats. He grinned, noting that they could find as many replacements as they wanted inside the dungeon. Meanwhile, Mia was caught grinning at her bracelet, and her party immediately started teasing her. They teased that she might meet Kuro again on the 2nd floor if she was lucky. Irio stammered that he had no problem if it was Kuro, and her party member encouraged her to go out with him. Mia shouted that she wouldn't give them water anymore, claiming she only admires him as a mage. Kuro and his party stand at the counter, receiving endless thanks from the staff. The receptionist is overwhelmed by the massive haul of Yeti magic stones they brought from the fifth floor. Nemomu remarks on how the staff's attitude has completely flipped compared to when they were accused of fraud. The receptionist apologizes frantically for calling them inferiors during their previous visit. She bows her head, terrified she will lose her job if her superiors find out she yelled at such productive adventurers. To make amends, she announces that the party is skipping a grade, promoting them from F rank directly to D rank. She explains that water stones are extremely rare and in high demand for freezing equipment and research. She admits they were only suspected because bringing such a huge amount on the first day seemed impossible. Nemomu is not satisfied and demands Kuro be promoted immediately to the highest rank available. The receptionist nervously explains that C rank is reserved for veteran adventurers, and Kuro's time is too short. However, she admits that if he can make one more major achievement, they might bypass the 3-year wait time. The conversation halts as she mentions a difficult quest is about to be announced. The guild master slams a poster down, declaring an emergency quest for all adventurers. He reveals that mysterious murders are occurring inside Daga's dungeon. The guild realizes the targets aren't monsters, but adventurers. The master yells that adventurers are the guild's treasures, and he will not overlook these crimes. Look at that passion, he loves you like a father loves his ATM. Wanted posters fly everywhere as a bounty is placed on the adventurer killer to protect the dungeon. They have no information on the killer's identity, but the guild will pay for any leads. Kuro looks at the poster and realizes this is the perfect chance for his promotion. The party leaves the guild, admitting that although the situation is grim, the timing is lucky for them. They agree to focus on their rank-up goal despite the fact that a human is hunting adventurers. Kuro vows to stop the killer, and Nemomu asks if his gift can help track the culprit. Kuro explains that his unlimited gacha produces random cards, so he can't guarantee a tracking ability. He suggests using flight cards to infiltrate the dungeon and find the killer from above. As they decide to return to the abyss, a portal suddenly tears open in the sky. Nemomu shouts a warning as a figure falls from the rift. Kuro rushes forward and catches the bloody figure in his arms. Kuro looks down in shock, realizing the battered girl is Mia-chan. The party surrounds her, looking at her severe injuries with deep concern. Kuro catches the collapsing Mia-chan, who struggles to whisper him, while covered in injuries. He realizes the SSR bracelet he gave her is broken, having activated a small miracle to transport her to him. A flashback reveals the party hearing about an adventurer murderer on the first floor of Daga's dungeon. A passing adventurer warns them to leave immediately because the culprit is active on the second floor. The party agrees to retreat and warn anyone else they see, regardless of race. Mia is terrified, suspecting the killer is an elite mage they can't match. The leader decides their lives are more important than the quest and orders a full retreat. They rush to put as much distance as possible between themselves and the entrance to the second floor. They hope that moving away from the entrance will lower the risk of bumping into the killer. Night falls, and the group is dismayed to realize they didn't make even half the distance they planned. Mia apologizes for being slow, but her teammates reassure her that they are all exhausted. They face a terrible choice: camp near the murderer or risk monster attacks in the dark, nothing like choosing between a serial killer and a goblin ambush. Great vacation spot. Suddenly, 2 cloaked figures appear behind them and ask what they are doing there. The party is terrified because they didn't hear the strangers approach them at all. The stranger smiles and asks if they ran into trouble to be stopping in such a place at night. The party claims they are just exhausted and resting for a second, trying to hide their fear. The boy realizes the strangers might not know about the danger and decides to warn them. He asks if they know about the adventurer murderer, and the stranger's expression darkens. The stranger admits that's the gist of it and realizes why the party was in such a hurry. They reveal they were looking for prey and notice the group. The killer notes they barely saw anyone on the second floor because the guild took action so quickly. They mockingly praise the Adventure Guild for actually functioning properly for once. Oh look, the villains are conducting a performance review. How corporate of them. The killer calls them inferiors for being so slow to realize who they are dealing with. He flexes his gauntlet, declaring that he is in a really good mood tonight. He grins maliciously, announcing his intention to squash some bugs. The killers draw their weapons as the party freezes in panic. The leader screams MIYA to snap his sister out of her frozen state. He orders Mia to listen to him and run away while the rest of them buy her time. Mia screams no, as a massive spray of blood marks the slaughter of her party. A brutal slash rips through the party leader's armor, spraying blood everywhere as Mia screams for her brother. The sheer wind pressure from the enemy's sword swing blows the rest of the party back. The leader realizes the difference in levels is overwhelming, while the attacker calls them ignorant bastards. Despite the hopeless situation, the leader yells at Mia to stand up and run away. Gimuru smiles through his pain, noting that it's the first time he's ever heard the wardy shout like that. The party members refuse to give up, declaring they will show the enemy what they are made of. The female mage warns the swordsman, Kaido, not to kill them all or there won't be any test subjects left. Kaido complains that their futile struggles make him want to kill every single one of them. The mage insists that a human mage like Mia is rare and precious material that must be preserved. Kaido grins and asks if he can have a bit of fun with Mia before she is used for experiments. He complains about being stuck in the dungeon and asks if he can use her to relieve his stress. Seeing Mia's terror, Kaido decides she doesn't desire it and tells the mage to call him when she's finished. He turns his back on the scene, waving his hand dismissively as he walks away. Mia is paralyzed with fear, sobbing and whispering for them to go away. Kaido turns back, claiming it is an honor for an inferior woman to be used by a future legendary hero like him. He genuinely looks confused, asking why she would try to escape such a glorious opportunity. This guy's ego is so big it probably has its own gravitational pull. He demands that she show her sincerity and beg for his attention with tears of joy. Mia suddenly looks past him and cries out Oni-chan as she sees movement. He stands up, panting heavily and bleeding profusely from his fatal wounds. The mage is amazed by his tenacity and begs Kaido to capture him alive as great material. Irio ignores his injuries, focused entirely on protecting his sister one last time. He smiles warmly at Mia through the blood and tells her to run. He repeats the order to run away, accepting his fate. He screams for her to live on for the sake of everyone who died. Kaido tries to chase after Mia, shouting that he won't let her escape. Irio throws himself in the way, shouting, "Don't interrupt me," as he clashes with the hero. Kaido is forced to stop and marvels at the splendid life force of the dying adventurer. He complains that bugs die too easily, making it annoying to capture them alive. Irio whispers to himself, reciting combat tactics about using his head and riling up the enemy. He reminds himself that battles are a test of intelligence, not just power. As Irio recites Gold's teachings, Kaido looks away in disgust, calling him an unpleasant fellow. Imagine being so arrogant you get distracted by someone quoting a textbook. Taking advantage of Kaido looking away, Irio launches a surprise attack. Kaido dodges it instinctively, noting that the level difference makes the attack meaningless. However, the attack was a feint, allowing Irio to close the distance for a shield bash. Although the hit deals 0 damage, the party's leader succeeds in striking the arrogant hero. The shield connects solidly, proving that even a bug can touch a hero with the right strategy. Under the moonlight, a victorious elf stands over a defeated, bleeding human adventurer, sneering at his fallen opponent. Screaming, "You inferior human," the elf mercilessly drives a massive spear down toward the defenseless man. The ground explodes with force as the attack lands, kicking up debris and dust. While Kaido lies broken on the ground, the elf obsesses over his own appearance, furious that a human dared to touch his beautiful face, and promises suffering before death. A bespectacled elf interrupts, ordering his partner to ignore the dying man and chase the lab rat that is currently escaping, claiming they have done enough damage here. The vain elf is annoyed by the order, but the spectacle-wearing partner warns that if the escapee survives, information about their illicit activities will spread everywhere. Meanwhile, a young girl runs frantically through the forest, gasping for breath as she tries to put distance between herself and the murderers. Tears stream down her face as she realizes she is the only one left who can report these adventurer murderers to the world. She pushes her legs to move faster, knowing her companions sacrificed their lives just to buy her this brief head start. Suddenly massive, ornate pillars slam into the ground in front of her, cutting off her escape route and knocking her down. The vain elf descends from the sky, literally surfing on a giant floating sword, arrogantly proclaiming he will teach her the proper attitude for facing someone high and mighty. He boasts about his weapon, a phantom-grade sword once used by a master, reveling in the girl's terrified expression. He raises the weapon high, introducing it as Grandius, the stolen treasure of the elf kingdom. He explains that the sword allows for flight and can freely create clones of itself, making escape impossible. As fear threatens to paralyze her, the girl remembers a voice from her past telling her not to give up. Imagine stealing a legendary national treasure sword capable of infinite cloning and flight, and using it to play Silver Surfer while bullying a level 5 rookie in the woods. Peak villain behavior. She snaps out of her despair, resolving to make her friend's sacrifices count, and begins chanting a spell to manifest ice blades. With a shout, she summons giant icicles, trying to convince herself that her idol, Kuro-san, could easily defeat these guys. She hurls the ice magic at the elf while sprinting away, refusing to let this be the end. The elf barely reacts, watching her run with disdain, calling her struggle futile and annoying. He easily keeps pace with her on his flying sword, gliding effortlessly while she stumbles through the dirt. He dismissively swats away her ice attacks, promising to make sure she can't even struggle anymore. He accelerates, aiming Grandius directly at her legs to cripple her movement permanently. The attack connects with brutal force, shattering her defenses and sending her tumbling violently across the ground. The elf lands, scoffing at the idea that her weak ice swords could ever slow him down, while she desperately crawls away. He stands over her laughing and tells her to just give up and spread herself for the sake of his twisted, future hero delusions. Despite the pain and fear, the girl glares back at him through her tears, calling him out for being stubborn. She yells that he isn't a hero. Real heroes are people like Kuro-san who use amazing magic to help others. She screams that he is far from a legend, just a coward who gets off on bullying the weak. With all the courage she has left, she looks him in the eye and calls him a loser. The word hits a nerve. The elf's internal monologue reveals his deep insecurity about being weak and unable to level up anymore. Enraged by the truth, the elf loses his composure completely, screaming at her to shut up. He commands all the floating sword clones to descend at once, intending to shred her to pieces. The girl curls into a ball as the massive blades converge on her from every angle. In that split second, she refuses to accept death, thinking of the sacrifices made for her and the message she must deliver. Just as the swords are about to strike, a dark, swirling vortex of energy erupts around her. Her eye snaps open in shock as the space around her warps. The swords slam into the ground, kicking up dust, but the elf looks confused. There was no sensation of hitting flesh. The dust clears to reveal nothing. The elf is flabbergasted, wondering if a bug like her could possibly use high-level teleportation magic. He frantically looks around the clearing, swinging his sword in frustration, demanding to know where she went. The bespectacled partner arrives, noticing the commotion, and asks if the inferior mage has been disposed of. The vain elf is forced to admit he lost her, leaving his partner shocked and horrified. The partner realizes the gravity of the situation. If she reports them to the guild, the news will reach the elf kingdom that they stole Grandius. He explains that the kingdom will dispatch the White Knights, elite warriors sent to fix the kingdom's reputation and retrieve the sword. The vain elf starts sweating profusely, terrified at the thought of the captain of the White Knights hunting them down. The partner reveals that the captain brings level 2,000 knights, while the captain himself has surpassed level 3,000. Terrified, they decide to abandon the area immediately, planning to use the sword's flight ability to escape to a new location. Trying to reassure themselves, they agree to continue their research elsewhere until they can break the limits and become untouchable. Suddenly, a terrifying, deep voice interrupts their planning. "You bastards aren't going anywhere." A hooded figure stands ominously in the clearing, having teleported the girl to safety and retrieved Kaido's body. The layout shows the battered girl and the injured adventurer lying safely behind the newcomer's protective stance. The hood falls back slightly to reveal a mask, and eyes burning with absolute murderous rage. Light stands silently near the fallen party members, shocking the villains with his sudden appearance. Kaido is terrified and baffled, unable to comprehend how he failed to detect Light's presence despite his high level. Light calls out the names of Wardy and Gamura, staring at their lifeless bodies. He gently closes their eyes, mourning their deaths in silence. Nemumu arrives carrying the injured Irio and reports to Light that the boy is still alive. Light immediately casts Heal and Sleep to stabilize Irio's condition and ease his pain. Light weeps openly, asking why good people like them had to suffer such a cruel fate. He recalls how hard the party worked to become adventurers in a world that discriminates against humans. He mourns that after all their effort to survive, they met such an unreasonable and senseless end. Light regrets that he didn't get to spend much time with them or know them better. He imagines a timeline where he was just a regular farmer and they could have all been friends. Tears stream down his face as he realizes that wish will never come true now. Light turns to the villains with cold fury, declaring he will not forgive a single one of them. The mage tries to lie, claiming the party was already dying when they arrived and that they tried to heal them. Light shuts them down instantly, revealing he saved Mia and she told him everything. The villains panic, realizing Light knows the truth and fearing he has already reported them to the guild. Light laughs coldly, revealing he didn't report them because he wants to hunt them down himself. Kaido's fear turns to manic joy, believing his luck has turned because the only witness delivered himself to be killed. Kaido rants that killing Light and the kid will solve everything and secure his path to becoming a legend. Light interrupts, telling Kaito he is wrong and that he won't be climbing any ranks today. Light vows to make Kaido feel the exact pain he brought upon everyone else before killing him. Kaido swears on his title as the hero Light that he will kill Light with his own hands. Kaido orders his subordinates not to interfere, and they bow in compliance. Kaido mocks Light, incredulous that an inferior thinks he can kill a future legendary hero. Screaming, "I will kill you," Kaido charges forward with a furious full-power swing. The massive sword strikes, but the attack is stopped instantly with a dull sound. Kaido's face twists in shock as he realizes his attack didn't connect as intended. Light blocks the massive blade effortlessly with his staff, looking unimpressed and asking, "Is that all?" Enraged by the disrespect, Kaido screams, "Don't screw with me," and prepares another strike. He swings his sword wildly, but Light doesn't even flinch. Minions watch in shock as a human kid blocks the hero. Light notes Kaido fights like a wild boar using only raw strength. All those levels and legendary gear, yet he fights like a toddler throwing a tantrum in a toy store. Light parries the attacks easily, calling the fight boring as he taps Kaido's weapon away. Light stares Kaido down with terrifying intensity, shaking the villain's confidence. Light casually smacks Kaido on the head with his staff, making a loud thonk sound. Kaito collapses to the ground screaming in pain while his mage looks on in horror. Light stands over the fallen hero, disappointed, calling him too weak. Light taunts him, asking him to try harder because he'll die before Light can even inflict proper suffering. Humiliated, Kaito scrambles up screaming and summons the power of his sword, Grandis. The chapter opens with a narration introducing the power of the Elven Kingdom's national treasure. Kaido screams, "You fucking inferior," as he prepares a devastating attack from above. He launches a massive explosion of energy, shocking Light with its sudden intensity. The attack tears through the forest, creating a massive shockwave. Light analyzes the attack, realizing that different magical effects are applied to each of the cloned swords. The mage notes that Kaido's ferocious attacks with Grandius are overwhelming, wondering how long the human can last. Narration explains the armament ranks, placing Phantom class as the third highest tier. Grandius is described as a first-class sword that can create freely manipulatable clones of itself. Each cloned sword is imbued with a different elemental effect, and the number of clones depends on the user's skill. Kaito unleashes 30 enhanced swords, an attack that no ordinary human could hope to deal with. The narration states that even monsters of a similar level wouldn't escape unscathed from such high-output magic. Light dodges the barrage, thinking that at this current level the attack could never hit him. Light gracefully twists in the air to avoid the incoming blades. Kaido is stunned that Light blocked the strike, while Light notes it was slightly better but still not close. The mage is in disbelief that Kaido's strike was stopped even after using the clones as a diversion. The mage panics, unable to understand how a human can fight on equal footing with a level 1500 elf. Kaito accuses Light of being a despicable coward for wearing magician garbs to lower his guard. He yells that there is no way a magician could fight him like this, insisting Light must be a first-class warrior. Light calmly explains that his gift, Unlimited Gacha, makes him a rearguard with magic beyond first-class magicians. He admits his frontline skills aren't specialist level and defines his unique role as an unlimited cards magician. Light's eyes glow as he declares he will show Kaito exactly how he is a magician. Light casts ice swords, summoning a massive array of frozen blades around him. The mage is terrified, screaming that it's impossible to cast such high-level magic without a chant. Dozens of ice swords hover in the air, matching the number of Grandius's clones. Kaido screams, "Don't fuck with me," refusing to believe that low-level ice magic can stop his legendary sword. The ice swords and Grandius clones collide, shattering against each other in a burst of energy. Kaido sweats profusely, realizing his attacks are being perfectly cancelled out. The air is filled with explosions as the two barrages annihilate one another. Kaito yells, "Not yet," and pours more power into Grandius, refusing to lose. He's trying so hard with his glowing sword while our boy is basically playing Fruit Ninja. Embarrassing. Light looks at him coldly and asks, "You done?" as Kaito grits his teeth in frustration. The battle rages on, with ice and steel shattering everywhere. The mage realizes Light's ice swords are perfectly controlled to counter Kaito and filled with unbelievable magical energy. The mage notes that casting 30 spells simultaneously while controlling them surpasses even elven magicians. Light thinks to himself that he still has a long way to go compared to Ellie, who could control 1,000 swords while humming. Light observes that the clones have the same power as his ice swords, dismissing Grandius as just a phantom-class sword. He admits it's an impressive item for not consuming the user's magic, but decides to stop playing along. Light's expression darkens as he decides to wrap things up and stop exploiting Kaito's weakness. Kaito begins to break down, screaming that this cannot be happening to a future hero and brave. He refuses to accept that he is struggling against an inferior brat while wielding Grandius. Kaito declares that Grandius is a holy sword gifted by the Heavenly Master and is the elven national treasure. Light and his party freeze, looking confused by the mention of that name. Light asks, "You know about Master?" shocked to hear the term used. Light demands an answer, asking why Kaito is bringing up Master. Kaito bursts into manic laughter, mocking Light for not even knowing this. Kaito grins arrogantly, revealing he is a submaster, a descendant carrying the master's blood. "I have a god's lineage." Cool story, bro. Light has a gacha addiction and infinite cards, you lose. Light stares in utter shock at the revelation. Kaido stands with arms spread, declaring he is a noble existence completely different from trashy inferiors. Light narrows his eyes, processing the unexpected information about Kaido being a submaster and descendant. Light decides on a change of plans and calls out to Gold and Nemumu. Light commands them to capture the enemies and take them to the abyss. He orders them to squeeze every bit of information out of their heads first. Killing comes later. Light specifically assigns the Dark Elf to Gold and Nemumu, ordering them not to let him escape. Gold and Nemumu accept the order, while the mage comments on how scary they are. The mage smiles, admitting he is bad at fighting but claims to have other methods. He summons his test subjects to be their opponents. Nemumu reacts with shock as massive shapes appear. Two grotesque monsters appear. The mage asks proudly what they think of his creation. He explains they are chimeras, human-monster hybrids created from his research. Nemumu looks at them in disgust, calling the act atrocious. The mage details that one is fused with trolls and the other with a special rock lizard. He boasts that he has succeeded in surpassing the growth limits of humans, causing their levels to soar. He admits they are unstable unless he uses a surplus of humans, but aims to perfect them. His goal is to create warriors with non-standard levels like masters or submasters artificially. I need more humans for experiments, says the guy who definitely won't survive the next 5 minutes. Bold career plan. He declares he needs to conduct more experiments using as many humans as necessary. Nemumu is furious. Nemumu turns to Gold and begs to kill them immediately. Gold says, "You've got to be kidding me." Nemumu glares at the mage, asking furiously what he thinks humans are. She accepts Light's order to capture them, but vows absolutely not to let the bastard escape. The mage laughs, offended at being called a bastard, claiming a human child can't comprehend his research. Nemumu grits her teeth, trembling with rage. The mage sends the chimeras forward to show the sublimity of his research. Nemumu dashes forward to attack, telling the monsters to rest in peace. Gold attacks with golden radiance, promising to release them from torment. The attacks land simultaneously, creating a massive impact and cloud of dust. Nemumu sheathes her blade, declaring she will wrap this up and target the mage next. The mage smiles smugly as the smoke clears, calling them hasty. The chimeras begin to regenerate rapidly, laughing distortedly. The mage laughs maniacally, stating it is impossible to kill his test subjects this easily. Meanwhile, Kaido yells at Light, angry that he is being ignored. Light agrees with Kaido, deciding to end the fight right now. Kaido is enraged by Light's filthy composure and vows to crush it. Kaido unleashes Grandius' biggest and strongest technique. Light watches the attack coming without a hint of fear. The scene cuts back to the chimeras being smashed violently with gruesome sound effects. Nemumu attacks furiously, yelling at them to stop making disgusting sounds and stay dead. The mage mocks Nemumu, asking if she is ashamed to struggle against such enemies. He mocks Gold as well for failing to kill them. Gold grunts, admitting he is struggling because he has to protect the unconscious Irio while fighting. The mage claims it's useless and offers gentle treatment if they quietly surrender. The mage decides to finish it quickly so as not to keep Milord waiting. He orders the chimeras to rise immediately, but he notices something is wrong. The mage panics, screaming impossible, as his chimeras fail to regenerate and disintegrate. Nemumu appears instantly in front of the mage, telling him he doesn't know why because he is a fool. Nemumu delivers a devastating kick to the mage's face. Nemumu drags the unconscious mage. Gold asks if she went too far and she replies, not far enough, she dragged him like a bag of trash. Customer service at the abyss is going to be terrible for him. Nemumu looks at her messy footwear and complains she needs to buy a new pair of boots when they get back. Kaido gathers his magic, declaring he will use the full power of his giant sword Grandius. He screams that he will make Light regret making a fool out of him. The narration explains that multiple magical effects are condensed into this single, devastating blow. Light blocks the attack effortlessly, calling the technique nothing more than petty tricks. Light observes that despite its size, the sword increases in speed by expanding and contracting erratically. He analyzes the weapon, wondering if it functions closer to a magical whip than a sword. Light mocks the attack, calling it a street performance that just looks flashy. Street performance. Ouch. Next, he'll ask if Kaido does balloon animals for birthday parties. Kaido is visibly shaken and insulted by the comparison to a street performer. He screams, asking how an inferior dares to insult Grandius, accusing Light of only knowing how to dodge. Kaido begins swinging wildly in frustration, cursing repeatedly as he fails to hit. He thinks to himself that if he can land just one hit, he can kill this tiny insect. Light taunts him mid-dodge, reminding him of his earlier threat about if you hit. Light tells him to attack all he wants. Kaido starts panic sweating, realizing it's impossible. Light delivers a powerful blow that sends Kaido flying through the air. Kaido rants that no inferior species should match him when he wields Grandius, screaming "Die!" repeatedly. He questions why and yet, as he fails to comprehend the situation. Kaido screams that Grandius is the national treasure of the Elven Kingdom and his strongest attack. Light punches through the attack, shattering Kaido's defense and sending him crashing down. Light declares that's enough as the dust settles. In the background, Nemumu finishes her fight, showing the battle is won on both fronts. Light kicks Kaido violently, sending him rolling across the ground. Kaido lies on the ground, beaten and bleeding, unable to stand. Light lines over him, promising that he has a lot of pain and suffering to look forward to. Kaido breaks immediately, screaming, "I'll talk, I'll tell you everything." He begs on his knees for forgiveness and pleads for Light not to kill him. He frantically offers secrets, floor plans of the castle, important facilities, and other interests. He even offers to hand over Grandius and tells Light everything he wants to know. Light looks down on him coldly, asking, "Why don't you resist? How pathetic." Light reminds Kaido that he claimed to be a hero and asks why he isn't fighting back. Light compares him to Mia's party, inexperienced adventurers who fought to the bitter end to protect each other. Light states that those who never give up in any situation are the ones called heroes. Kaido cries that there is no point in fighting because winning against Light is impossible. Kaido tries to negotiate, claiming he is 200 years old and deserves more respect than a human child. Light ignores the age comment and gives him one more chance, ordering him to pick up his sword. Light swears that if Kaido can inflict even the slightest damage in the next round, he will release him. Light screams at him to stand up, pick up the sword, and show his power. Kaido tries to bargain again, offering to guide them to the Elven Kingdom, but Light insists he fight. Light yells, "You're supposed to be the future hero." Light demands to see how far Kaido can go. Instead of fighting, Kaido turns and runs away screaming in terror. Kaido cries to himself that this must be a dream and wonders why he has to suffer. Light casts Solar Ray, firing a beam of light at the fleeing coward. The beam hits Kaido, causing him to scream in agony. Light stands over the fallen elf, confirming Mia's words. He is just a loser running from reality, neither courageous nor a hero. Light and his servants stand triumphantly over the unconscious bodies of Kaido and the mage. Light decides to take them to the abyss, rather than leaving them as monster food, though his intentions are far from kind. The mage wakes up groggily, and Light remarks that he recognizes them from the dungeon queue incident a month ago. The mage is terrified that Light remembers such a minor interaction, realizing he should have been more cautious back then. Light sighs, wondering why fate always seems to bring him trouble like this. Light casts Transfer, enveloping the group in a massive pillar of light. They arrive instantly in a dark, rocky landscape, leaving the mage confused about where they are. Light welcomes them to his home, the deepest and most dangerous part of the abyss. He warns the terrified captives that if they don't believe him, they are free to die right now. The Abyss servants, Iri, Mei, Ayuoki, and Nazuna, greet Light warmly, completely ignoring the prisoners. Nazuna jumps on Light, asking to sleep with him tonight, while Mei notes the strange creatures he brought back. Light explains they are criminals who murdered humans and have info on the Master, so they are to be interrogated and executed. The girls' expressions instantly darken into terrifying masks of fury upon hearing the prisoners interfered with Light. Mei guarantees she will make them regret being born by inflicting excruciating pain. Iri promises to break every torture taboo she knows, urging Light not to dirty his hands. Ayuoki glares at them with pure hatred, unable to comprehend how such low-level beings dared to exist near Light. Nazuna vows to crush them for their disrespect, radiating killing intent. Light orders them not to touch the prisoners yet, as they need to extract specific information first. The girls switch back to being cheerful and obedient instantly, accepting the order with smiles. Light instructs Gold to take the injured Irio away for proper treatment. He asks Nemomu to assist him in giving Gamura and Wardy a burial. The mage begs for mercy, claiming he is a victim who was threatened by Kaido into doing the experiments. Light coldly asks if the mage spared his human victims when they begged him with the exact same words. Light declares that's my answer, signaling the maids to begin the interrogation. The mage screams in terror as he is dragged into the gloom, wishing it was all a dream. The scene shifts to a peaceful morning at the inn Colonel in the city. Mia wakes up in bed, shocked to find Light sitting nearby. Light greets her gently, and she looks around in confusion. Light explains they are safe at the inn where his party is staying. Light tells her a cover story. They went to the dungeon to find the killer for fame and reported it to the guild. He claims they found her just in time to save her from the elves who were on guard. He lies that the villains escaped to the deep dungeon, so they prioritized saving her and Irio instead of chasing. He reassures her that Irio is recovering in the hospital, and she frantically asks about her brother. Light hesitates, unable to give her the answer she wants regarding Gamura and Wardy. He hands her small containers containing the hair of her fallen friends. Light apologizes for only being able to retrieve their hair while saving Irio. Mia cries but thanks him for bringing back even a part of them. She clutches the keepsakes, thanking him repeatedly through her tears. The reality sets in and she begins to wail in grief. She screams in anguish, mourning her lost friends and brother. Light stands outside the door, still able to hear her cries clearly. He laments that his high level allows him to hear her suffering even through the door. Mia's scream echoes painfully through the hallway. A vision of Mia's smiling party fades away as her scream continues. The narration reveals that due to the adventurer killer information, the guild raised Light's party rank by 1. Light is surprised they reached rank C just for information, having expected they would need to deliver corpses as evidence. Back at the inn, Mia and Irio sit with Light. Light says I see as they share their news. Mia announces they are quitting as adventurers and escorting a caravan back to their hometown tomorrow. Irio smiles sheepishly, admitting he has already sold most of his equipment since they are leaving so soon. Mia tells Light that they are only breathing today thanks to him. Both Mia and Irio bow deeply, expressing their sincere gratitude for everything he did. Light humbly insists it was luck, mentioning the advice and burn medicine they received. He notes Irio survived due to Yanark's twisted first aid, and Mia was saved by the SSR bracelet. Light thinks to himself that despite his high level, he isn't omnipotent and couldn't save Gamura and Wardy. Light suggests that they could still team up with others or attend the magic school in the dukedom. Mia admits she is too scared to enter dungeons again after the incident. Irio adds that it feels wrong to adventure without Gamura and Wardy, so teaming up with others doesn't feel right. Mia explains they want to give their friends a proper burial back home, and she plans to study magic on her own. Mia cheerfully invites Light to visit their hometown, promising a warm welcome from everyone. Light smiles and promises to come drink up all their sake one day. Mia smiles radiantly with tears in her eyes, saying she will be waiting for him. Light watches them leave from the window, and Gold comments that they will be okay. Gold believes that despite their sadness, they will work hard to find new paths. Light thanks Gold and decides to head back to the abyss to fulfill a promise to May and Eerie. A scene of graves appears in the abyss. Light vows to take the villains to the grave of the fallen. Light tells Gold he's leaving and casts teleportation release to return to his base. A maid welcomes Light back, thanking him for his precious time. Eerie the witch is extremely happy to see him, wanting to make today an anniversary. Light smiles and asks for a report on what happened with Kaito and Yanark. May explains that Eerie extracted their memories for accuracy, and she used forbidden magic to scour their brains. Light receives the compiled documents containing all the acquired information. Light reads about the Submaster, those with the Master's blood who possess high magic and strength. He reads a disturbing line: when neglected, the possibility arises where the world can be destroyed. Light tries to interpret this, wondering if it refers to military balance or actual destruction of the world. He concludes that even if the Master is strong, they are alone, so the goal remains unclear. Eerie notes that the line about world destruction was muttered by the Elf Kingdom's White Knight captain. Eerie explains she couldn't find more info even after diving into Kaito and Yanark's brains again. Light agrees that further investigation is useless if Eerie's magic couldn't find anything. Light opens a dark, swirling portal, revealing the tormented forms of Kaito and Yanark. Light declares they have given them enough torture, and it is time to end it. He lists their sins: attacking Irio and Mia, human experimentation, and mass murder. Light activates SSR Feast of the Dead to consume the villains. The spirits of the dead swarm Kaito and Yanark, tearing them apart as they scream in agony. Light prays that this at least releases the dead human's pain, then asks Eerie about her news. Eerie happily announces that the revenge plan of Sasha is completely finished. She says they only need one word from Light to commence immediately. Eerie reveals that Sasha has a fiancé in the White Knights, and they plan to kidnap him for info. The target is identified as the vice captain of the White Knights based on Kaito's memories. Light praises Eerie, calling it a really good idea, and orders them to proceed. Light sits on his throne, excited to see the expression Sasha will make when she begs for her life in despair. Sasha narrates her past as an illegitimate child of a noble and a commoner who died. She explains how her abusive step-family abruptly changed their attitude, adoring her instead of bullying her. It was all because she managed to get engaged to Michael, a royal-blooded knight, by playing him. Sasha recounts the reward she got for killing Light, the suspected master, while Michael listens intently. They laugh together about how Light looked when they shot his leg, and he tried to run awkwardly. Michael shares his own sadistic joy in watching victims beg, mentioning he destroyed a human village. Sasha agrees, saying Light's despair-filled face was the funniest thing she ever saw. Wow, they really are a match made in hell. I hope their wedding registry includes matching coffins. Michael expresses his gratitude for meeting a woman as wonderful as Sasha. Sasha feigns happiness about the engagement, calling it a dream come true. They flirt in the gazebo, exchanging sickeningly sweet compliments. Later, they share a carriage ride through the city, enjoying what they call a lovely day. Michael calls them a perfect match, unaware of the true nature of the woman sitting next to him. They discuss their upcoming wedding at the end of the year, thinking it is still far away. Sasha worries about fitting into her wedding dress, acting the part of a blushing bride. The carriage halts abruptly, interrupting their conversation. A human slave dropped cargo on the road, apologizing profusely for the mistake. Sasha whips the exhausted slave, screaming that talking livestock deserves no breaks. She thinks that if Light had been a real master, she would have used her body to keep him, but humans are useless. She looks out the window and freezes, seeing a familiar figure standing in the crowd. Sasha stares in horror at the boy who should be dead, while he looks back calmly. She stops the carriage and sprints into an alley, desperate to prove her eyes wrong. She runs into a dead end, convincing herself it's impossible for Light to be there. She tries to logic it away, telling herself a human couldn't survive or grow that much in 3 years. She trembles, thinking she just imagined it because she was talking about him, until she sees a note. The note reads, "I will be waiting at the giant tower Light." Sasha screams in pure terror, realizing her nightmare is real. She lists everything she gained by killing him, status, money, royalty, and realizes it's all at risk. She knows she will lose absolutely everything if anyone finds out Light is alive. Terrified of returning to being bullied, she resolves to murder him for real this time. She panics, not knowing where the giant tower is, until she hears a laugh from above. Light and Eerie look down from the roof, ready to start the revenge plan of Sasha. Light smiles confidently as Eerie prepares to unleash hell on the target. The Elven Queendom is established as a land of rigid hierarchy and military power. The White Knights are introduced as the most overwhelming force in the land, fearing no one. In a serene castle garden, the knights enjoy tea while a scream echoes in the background. Commander Hardy is introduced, presiding over the table. Sharfat, a high-ranking knight, is shown groping the human maid Sosha and praising her chest. Twins Nia and Kia laugh maniacally, establishing the group's unhinged dynamic. They discuss Kaito, a rogue former member who killed adventurers to steal a legendary sword. Sharfat notes Kaito reached his growth limit and was recently humiliated by a human child. Nia proudly displays Kaito's severed ear, confirming he escaped into the dungeon. Sharfat explains that the higher-ups want the White Knights to clean up their own mess quietly. He emphasizes that orders from the top are absolute, and the stain must be removed. Sharfat immediately loses focus to flirt with Sosha again, preferring romance to work. Nia and Kia argue violently over whether to gouge out Kaito's eyes or take his other ear. They casually refer to a slave bought with their own money as a disposable object. The twins mock Sharfat for his bad taste in finding a human woman attractive. They suggest that killing humans quickly is a form of mercy given their weakness. Sharfat agrees, stating that extinction is preferable to a life of misery for the weak. A flashback warns Sharfat that his stubborn ideology will eventually lead to his downfall. He arrogantly dismisses the warning, refusing to change his character. The sound of a teacup hitting a saucer silences the bickering group. Commander Hardy orders them to shut up, calling their noise trash that ruins the tea. Hardy instantly obliterates the nearby slave with a magic blast to prove a point. The twins are ordered to clean up the bloody mess in the yard. Hardy switches to a polite smile, apologizing to the terrified Sosha for the noise. Kaito is dismissed as a third-rate failure who couldn't handle the pressure. Sharfat vows to handle the situation personally to save the queen's face. Hardy reveals Kaito was a failed candidate for commander who hit his limit. Hardy questions if Sharfat is secretly aiming for the commander's seat. The concept of submaster blood is introduced as the key to power. Elves are said to possess the most master blood of all races. Awakening this blood allows them to break level limits and reach thousands in power. The White Knights are revealed to be an interdimensional order of awakened beings. Kaito went rogue because he couldn't accept that he had stopped growing. Hardy warns Sharfat that a human lover will stain his pure blood. It is revealed that there are fewer than 20 submasters and no true masters left. Hardy claims keeping Sosha is just a hobby to watch a human get excited. Bored with the game, Hardy decides it is time to kill Sosha. Hardy invites Sharfat to shoot Sosha in the back as she runs away. Sharfat agrees. The official Imperial order to kill Kaito is expected to arrive shortly. The scene shifts to midnight in a forest near the capital. A mysterious tower suddenly appears, setting the stage for the next battle. A narration box explains that chaos has engulfed the Elven Queendom due to a mysterious tower appearing in the Old Grove forest. In the forest, a group of elves drags a young human girl on a leash, yelling at her not to waste time. A diagram shows how the tower's appearance has pushed high-level monsters out of the forest, blocking the highway and cutting off logistics to the port city. At a guild hall, adventurers view a request to investigate the tower, while the regular knights are too busy securing the roads to help. The elves in the forest discuss the danger, noting that level 150-200 monsters are fleeing in terror from something in the tower. One elf reveals his callous plan. He bought the human brat specifically to use as a decoy so they don't have to risk their own lives. The girl cries, terrified. The female elf mocks her, saying human women have terrible taste while the others agree. The leader suggests they can gather info while the girl is being eaten, treating her death as a strategic resource. An elf raises a hand to strike the girl, demanding she move her ass or get hit. The girl begs for mercy. The elf scoffs, noting that human brats are cheap and easily replaceable if this one breaks. He sneers, calling her talking livestock and telling her to make herself useful. Abruptly, blood drips onto the girl's face. The elf who was just speaking is silenced. A massive four-legged beast with a snake tail, a hellhound-snake hybrid, appears, looming over the terrified party. The monster crunches down on the elf leader, killing him instantly while the girl screams for help. The monster rampages, destroying the elven party. The girl cowers, expecting to be next. The girl opens her eyes, realizing she hasn't been eaten yet, though the forest is silent. Footsteps approach, a voice chuckles, ha ha ha, this is one hell of a treasure. A group of rough-looking men with mohawks and spikes appears, claiming it's their lucky day to find a free slave. The girl despairs, terrified that she has traded death for violation and slavery, thinking she'd rather be eaten alive. Suddenly, she realizes her wounds are healed. The thugs gave her an expensive high-grade potion. The Mohawks scold her for going barefoot because it lowers her cell value, but their tone is oddly caring. One punk offers to make her a walking stick to help her walk, though he gruffly tells her she has to wait to take a bath. They offer to carry her if she can't stand and promise to make her a meal later, completely contradicting their villainous appearance. High above on a wall, two figures, Ayuki Catbeard and Eri Witch Hat, watch the scene, confirming they are protecting the girl. Yuri asks how it went. Ayuki, relaxing, replies with a casual Naya tilde. They discuss their Master Light's orders. Controlling the surface monsters is hard work, but Ayuki is managing it. Eri reveals Light's instructions: save humans if the monsters or people behave atrociously. It's a test of the subordinate's judgment. Eri admits she is willing to kill anyone who behaves atrociously, praising Light for testing their emotional capabilities. Eri questions the Mohicans specifically, seemingly baffled by their obsession with their weird hairstyles. Eri worries they might mess up the plan, but decides to just keep an eye on them rather than intervene yet. Eri is anxious about interpreting Light's will correctly. Ayuki tells her not to worry. Ayuki chides Eri, saying it is disrespectful to assume they can fully understand their lord's grand ideas. Eri argues that a woman's duty is to be close to her lord, support him, and nurture his children. Ayuki counters that they should simply be whatever the lord desires, a weapon, a shield, or a tool. Personal desire is irrelevant. Ayuki states coldly that anything beyond total utility is unnecessary and unacceptable. Eri asks if Ayuki's philosophy isn't just the same as being a pet. Ayuki admits she has the urge to kill Eri when they argue. Ayuki warns Eri, if you cause trouble for our lord, I will kill you. Eri smiles dangerously, challenging Ayuki to try it, turning the conversation into a lethal standoff. The two powerful subordinates sit side by side on the ledge, their shadows stretching out, radiating tension. Eri breaks the tension by softly calling Ayuki's name. Ayuki seems to have dozed off. Ayuki wakes up with a Naya. Eri decides she's heard enough of Ayuki's honest opinion for now. Ziri flies off, offering to have another heart-to-heart later. Aoyuki remains on the wall. Back on the ground, the Mohawks have safely handed the girl over to a merchant friend, telling her to take care of her health. The Mohicans prepare to head southwest the next day, continuing their mission. It is revealed that the Mohicans are actually Light's companions, summoned from infinite gacha cards, and they hate how cruel this world's towns are. Many other low-level summons, fishermen, peddlers are scattered across the world, gathering information for Light. The Mohicans discuss rumors that the human kingdom is selling its own people to other nations, disgusted by the lack of morals. The leader warns them to keep their voices down, as they don't know who is listening. They confirm the plan to work with the Snake Hellhound and Aoyuki's monsters to push forward. Scene shift to a desk where Sasha is reading a report, frustrated by the location. Sasha complains about having to go through an area with level 200 monsters and a giant four-legged creature. Sasha is determined to reach the mysterious tower to find Light before the White Knights or Mikkel find him. Sasha declares with a twisted expression that she will kill Light with her own hands. In the capital, reports confirm there is still no information on the tower, while monsters flood the forest. A minister warns that if high-level monsters block the highway, logistics will stop, causing suffering for the people. He suggests immediately deploying the White Knights to exterminate the monsters. The queen sits on her throne, stating she wishes to avoid causing any suffering to her people. Hardy counters, arguing it would be reckless to send the White Knights in blind without information. Hardy, commander of the White Knights, mocks the PM, suggesting he's only good for playing with numbers and cheating people. Hardy lectures that accurate information is the eyes and ears of combat, dismissing the PM's paperwork concerns. The PM grunts as Hardy tells him not to let amateurs interfere with military matters. Narration reveals the rift. Hardy, conservative versus the Prime Minister, reformist, playing political games even during a crisis. The Queen intervenes to stop the bickering. She sides with Hardy, acknowledging his point. The Queen orders increased rewards to attract skilled adventurers for information gathering. Hardy leaves the meeting room, looking bored with the proceedings. In a private room, Hardy relaxes and thanks the Queen, calling her mother for her help earlier. The Queen smiles warmly, revealing that Hardy is her son, the Prince, and she protects him from dangerous tasks. She dotes on Hardy-chan, saying she couldn't let him storm into the forest without intel. Hardy admits the PM is capable but notes his anti-Queen views are too strong. They may need to force him out. The Queen smiles terrifyingly, pitying the PM for being targeted by Hardy, the strongest of the elves. The Queen worries the tower could shake the country's foundation if neglected. She speculates darkly, could this be the return of the Demon King? If the Demon King returns, a human hero would inevitably be born to counter it. Hardy questions if heroes are only born from humans. The Queen explains the real threat. If a master is born, elves might be destroyed. That master must be killed. Hardy recalls a candidate for master appearing 3 years ago, a choice between two evils. The Queen confirms that candidate wasn't a true master, but they killed him as a precaution anyway. Hardy muses that he wouldn't have killed it immediately. He would have used the body to prove humans are pests first. Hardy tells his mother it isn't fitting for a commander to steal small tasks like that. Hardy declares that they must exterminate all humans before a master is born within the 8 nations. Close up on Hardy's eyes. Humans are pests and they are not allowed to live. Scene shifts to the countryside. A wagon arrives at a forward camp near the forest. Light disguised steps out, eager to take a look at the chaos. He scans the soldiers, adventurers, and merchants, wondering just how ugly they look. The area is like a small village, crowded with adventurers preparing to investigate the tower. Background chatter reveals that the Thunder Arrow clan was destroyed, and the famous Black Clown Party is here. Light's party confirms their plan to enter the Old Grove Forest. Light monologues he is building his rank as Dark Kuro and planning his revenge on Sasha. This publicity stunt is part of Erie's plan. Light spots a group of elves. It is the elves' party, the ones from the Capital Guild yesterday. Light realizes that if they go into the forest, they will definitely try to kill them. Nemomu and Light are annoyed that the previous Thunder Arrow incident didn't scare them off. One of the elves mocks Nemomu again. Nemomu said, "Hey, who's the chopping board?" Light stares them down from under his hood. Light sends someone he speaks coldly, "Don't you dare touch her, both of you." Internally, Light thinks, "I didn't expect it to come so soon." He was warned of a near miss. Light tries to keep his composure, but Sasha is staring intently. Sasha suddenly shouts, "I saw her briefly when I handed her the note, you human kid." Light plays dumb, "Do you mean me?" Sasha gets up in his face. "To see her face this close, you have nothing to do with this." Light looks at her thinking, "It's been 3 years. Sasha commands, "Take off that stupid mask of yours and let me see your face." Light tries to deflect. "It's a bad wound and I don't want to show it to anyone. I'm sorry, but this mask was meant to cover my burns." Sasha snaps, "Don't make a big deal out of it. I said take it off, shut up." Sasha swings her hand violently to rip the mask off Light's face. The chapter ends with Sasha screaming, "You shitty little human." Sasha screams at Light, demanding he drop the mask so she can see his face immediately. Light plays along, secretly using his SSR clown's mask to project an illusion of a gruesome burn scar onto his face. Sasha is instantly repulsed by the sight, shouting at him to cover his disgusting face. She is so overcome with revulsion that she physically recoils and vomits, blaming the inferior for making her feel nauseous. However, this disgust fuels her denial. She convinces herself that in 3 years, a human inferior would have grown more than this stunted kid has, so he cannot be Light. She turns away, clutching a runic note, and reaffirms her goal. The real Light is in the mysterious tower. Her internal monologue reveals her true desperation. She begged Michael to let her become an adventurer again solely to kill Light and secure her position as the vice commander's fiancée. Light watches her storm off, noting what a shame it is to see her pathetic true nature exposed. Light's disguised party members Gold and Nemomu rejoin him. They confirm there was some trouble, but they are pressing on. Light explains the plan. They will continue pretending to be adventurers to investigate the tower and boost his dark persona's rank. As they trek deeper into the forest, Light senses they are being followed. He stops and calls out to the bushes, warning the fellows from the guild that it is dangerous beyond this point. The elven bullies from the previous day emerge, ignoring the warning. Light tells them clearly, "Come any closer and you'll die." The elves charge, yelling that they won't let him go and warning him not to screw with them. They surround Light's party, cutting off any escape. The leader pants heavily, declaring he will pay Light back in full for the humiliation he suffered yesterday. Light's eyes genuinely surprised that they managed to catch up. He thought he had lost them when they entered the forest. He looks at them with pity, remarking that it is a shame for such young talents to waste their lives on a petty vendetta. Light decides their fate. He tells them, "This is the path you chose, so I'll give you the proper ending." He turns to the empty air beside him and asks Mira to clean everything up because he doesn't want to leave corpses lying around. The elves laugh, asking who he is talking to and mocking the Black Clown party's reputation. They sneer that achieving something in the dwarves' area doesn't make Light impressive or tough. Suddenly Mira, a hooded figure, steps forward from the shadows, radiating a dark, crushing aura. She commands the inferiors to kneel in front of her. The elves, oblivious to their doom, scoff and tell Light to beg for his life if he wants them to let him go. Light, Gold, and Nemomu simply stare at them in silence. Mira laughs a chilling kekikek and declares they will all die for being rude to her lord. She unveils her power, transforming into a massive eldritch horror of writhing tentacles and gnashing teeth. The elves scream "Gyaa" as the monsters devour them instantly. Mira watches the slaughter, telling them there is no point in begging now and to just shut up and die. A massive swallowing sound echoes through the forest as the elves are consumed without a trace. Mira reverts to her small hooded form, Light apologizing for making her do something unnecessary. Mira reassures him, calling him master as part of their cover to calm him down. Mira smiles, stating she would eat tens of thousands for him, though she complains that these elves weren't delicious. Gold and Nemumu notes that while Mira is reliable, she is as scary as always. Mira insists they are friends and there is nothing to be scared of, then turns to the trees. She tells Light not to mind her earlier outburst and signals the rest of the group to reveal themselves. Ice Heat, the maid with twin tails, steps out first, declaring she exists to be useful to her master. Suzu, wearing a cap and holding a gun, agrees, stating she shares the exact same thought as her sister. Jack, the large muscular warrior, gives a thumbs up, telling Light to ask for help anytime because that's what a big bro does. The chapter ends with Light smiling warmly at his summoned subordinates, welcoming Ice Heat, Suzu, and Jack Na back to the team.